Hello NFL fans and welcome back to the Wall of NFL channel. In this video today I'm going to be talking about all of Week 7's Sunday games, and I'll be recapping each one and kind of giving my thoughts as to how each game went. The Bengals won in phenomenal fashion against the Ravens yesterday by over 20 points, and I actually thought before this game the Ravens were possibly the best team in the AFC. And after watching this game, I'm not so sure. It could just be a wipe the slate clean and start again for the game for the Ravens, or it could be some actual trouble because the Bengals, no one really thought they were going to be competing this year, but they look fantastic. Joe Burrow, the quarterback, has thrown for over 400 yards, and 201 of those yards were to Jamar Chase, who's been sensational as a rookie even this year. And also their tight end Uzomah and the bunch of weapons that they have, as well as their running back Joe Mixon, they have fantastic balance, and that is what you need to win, because if you have balance, the defenses that you're going up against won't know whether to defend the pass or the run, and it really opens up plays that are trick plays and play actions, and I just think that Zach Taylor's doing a fantastic job at coach as well. The Ravens, I think, are still the better team than the Bengals, and I don't know whether the Bengals will be able to compete this year in the playoffs, but I think next year they will definitely be top contenders. The Ravens, on the other hand, I think they won't need to worry too much because later on in the stretch, when they get to December and January, I think they will still be really, really tough to beat for any team. I really thought the Chiefs were heading in the right direction after beating the Washington football team, but this week against the Titans was just shambolic. Only scoring 3 points when you have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and not to mention Damian Williams, despite being their backup running back, is actually still pretty decent, and he really showed it last week against the Washington football team. But this is actually the worst loss in terms of their offensive output that the Chiefs have had since Patrick Mahomes joined them. 3 points. Gosh, it's a bit embarrassing considering that that's the same number of turnovers they got in this game. They've thrown and dropped more fumbles and interceptions than any other team so far this season, and it's going to take a lot of work for them to get back into the mix for the playoffs. I still think they'll do it because they're just way too talented in terms of their coaching staff and roster to miss out on the playoffs, but they've got to sort things out and really limit those turnovers because they just have no chance if they're going to keep on turning the ball over. The Titans, on the other hand, they didn't have an amazing game by one particular player. Derrick Henry wasn't as good as he normally was, and Ryan Tannehill was just pretty average, which is kind of what he's been all season. But it was a fantastic team performance, really led by their defense, and well done to the Titans. I think they will definitely win the AFC South, and they could push potentially to win a game in the playoffs as well, but I'm not sure because they do have a few holes on their team. The Lions did everything they possibly could to win against the Rams yesterday. They threw the kitchen sink at them, almost literally, with 2 fake punts and a fake onside kick in the first half as well. But it's just such a shame that the Lions aren't able to win. I feel like they're really likeable with Dan Campbell, and I actually feel their despair for not winning a game so far. They're not the worst team in the league at all. They're better than the Jaguars and Jets, I think, but they're just they're just being really unlucky. And I mean, they're never going to beat the Rams, even on a good day like they had yesterday. I just feel really bad for the Lions. The Rams, on the other hand, I think we can definitely see that they're going to go really far this year. Matthew Stafford was brilliant once again, and he had 334 yards and 3 touchdowns against his former club. So I don't know whether that was him taking revenge or him just trying to show the best that he could to his new team. But we could all see the Rams were definitely the better side with all of this offensive output. Jared Goff has come under a lot of scrutiny from his own head coach, but he did look okay in this game. And as I said, the win is definitely coming for the Lions at some point. The Colts and the 49ers on Sunday Night Football was a pretty weird and crazy game. The rain was pouring it down all game, and it led to so many mistakes like penalties on every other play, and also fumbles and dropping passes. It was mental. It seemed as though at any point a player could drop a ball and the other team could just pick it up and run for a touchdown or make some kind of big game-changing play. And it was just so intriguing to watch. I haven't seen a game with that much rain and that much mayhem in a long time, since some of the snow games a few years ago. Jimmy Garoppolo did really struggle in the rain, more so than Carson Wentz. So Garoppolo only had about 180 yards and had 2 interceptions as well, and Kyle Shanahan wasn't too pleased with him after the game, possibly considering Trey Lance being their starting quarterback from this point forward. But Carson Wentz, as I said, adapted a little bit better to the rain, so it meant that he and the Colts had a bit more offense, and the defense, the Colts, it really helped them to stop the 49ers at 18 points. So the Colts, offensively, Carson Wentz was making big throws, and I think the size of his hands probably was really helpful in this game. The Cardinals got over 30 points again this week, which is the 6th time in their 7 games, only getting 17 points against the 49ers a few weeks ago. But the Cardinals, they just look unstoppable. With Kyler Murray, his completion percentage is still at the top of the league. And it looks like there's no way of stopping him because he is so accurate. And he's also so mobile as well, so no defensive lineman can get anywhere near him. And no cornerbacks can get anywhere near his passes either. DeAndre Hopkins he has a fantastic connection together, and it was almost telepathic. Like as soon as Kyler Murray was running and the play breaks down, Hopkins is always there to catch it, even when it's not scripted play, which I think is unbelievable. And I think it's really hard to get that kind of connection between the quarterback and wide receiver. I think that the Texans, despite giving it everything they could in the first quarter, getting a safety and a field goal, I just think they really struggled after that. And well, Davis Mills, he's clearly not going to be the guy. Maybe he can be a backup in the future. But the Texans, if they're going to win a game, they need Tyrod Taylor to come back. The defense for the Cardinals held the Texans, as I said, to 5 points. So maybe that Cardinals defense getting better and better and better every single week is going to be really good for them by the time it gets to the playoffs. One of the better finishes to this weekend's games was the Falcons against the Dolphins. The Falcons dominated the game for a lot of it, leading by points, but the Dolphins were never out of it, and their offense actually does look a lot better now that they've got Tua back in the mix. I think though that the Falcons winning the game with Younghoe Koo, they kind of deserved it because they had been better on the day. Neither of these teams though are going to be competing for any playoff spots or any significance later on in the season, so it didn't really, despite it being a great finish, it didn't really feel very important. The only thing that's important, I think, in this game was who gets a higher pick in the draft next year. Both of these teams, I think, are going to have top 10 picks. And despite the Falcons getting their 3rd win, I don't feel like it will last. And even though Kyle Pitts was fantastic, I don't have a lot of faith at all in the Falcons. This was a very embarrassing game for the Chicago Bears this weekend. I thought they were only going to lose by about 20 to the Buccaneers, but instead losing by 35, and that's basically pretty much all in the first half. That was just so disappointing to see, and the Bears really have a lot to work on. I know they were missing David Montgomery, their best offensive player at running back, but he's not going to score them 35 points, is he? The Buccaneers, their biggest struggle so far this year was their pass defense, and this weekend they only conceded 184 yards, but they got 3 interceptions as well. So it looks like that the Buccaneers are kind of getting back on track defensively. I think that team is going to be a real struggle to beat, especially when they're at home. When they're on the road, they're not quite as good, but at home, the Buccaneers seem unbeatable. So I think the key for them is getting that number 1 overall seed in the NFC playoff picture. Tom Brady had a massive game again this weekend with 4 touchdowns, taking him to 600 in his career, the first quarterback to ever do it. And everyone is talking about how great he is, and they're all right. Tom Brady makes it look like the game is easy. And even with Antonio Brown out, it looked like he had so many people to throw to, so many players like Mike Evans especially in this game. It looks like the Buccaneers could be unstoppable, as I said, if they are at home in the playoffs. The Packers have had a really great stretch of games in the last 6 weeks. Yes, they lost the first game 38-3 to the Saints, but since then they've got some really favourable games actually so far. And I think their schedule, yes, it will get worse in the next couple of weeks against the Cardinals and against the Chiefs as well. But the Packers, they've beaten who's in front of them, and they've beaten them with a lot of balance on offense as well. Not just airing the ball out with Aaron Rodgers, but they've also been handing the ball off to Aaron Jones and using more screen passes as well. And not to mention their defense has also improved a lot on the last couple of years. I think, though, the Washington football team, they're not that great, so I of course expected the Packers to win. But you can only beat who's in front of you. And what was in front of the Packers yesterday was a bad Washington football team. Their defense is getting worse and worse, and Ron Rivera really has to reset. And I think they need to just start all over almost, because there's just something wrong, even defensively, which they were so good last year. If you can believe it, the Raiders are now sitting top of the AFC West. And last week they beat the Broncos pretty easily. And this week they smacked the Eagles as well. So they look actually pretty good since John Gruden left. Maybe he was kind of holding them back in a way. I think that Derek Carr is really showing his true value to the Raiders, and he's moving the ball amazingly well against any defense he comes across, apart from the 2 games that he had when John Gruden was his head coach, that he was only averaging 200 yards a game, but now he looks fantastic, and yesterday had 31 of 34 passes completed, and I just think that the Raiders, if they keep Derek Carr healthy, they actually could contend to get into those wildcard spots. I think the Chiefs and the Chargers will turn it around and get ahead of the Raiders in the end, because they just have a lot better rosters and quality. But the Raiders are looking pretty good. The Eagles, they had a lot of garbage time points and yards, so they weren't as competitive as the scoreline and the box score suggests, because it was kind of all in the fourth quarter when the Raiders completely ran away with it in the third quarter. The Eagles and Jalen Hurts, they still have a lot of work to do, so it might be a season or 2 until they can beat teams, even like the Raiders. The Patriots have really struggled offensively so far this year, only scoring on average 20 points per game. And I think this win was very important for the Patriots. I think for the Jets, though, on the other hand, it was a really bad game for them. Conceding 54 points is just not acceptable for any team. And I actually think that the Jets now are the worst team in the league. I know the Lions are still winless and the Jets have got a win, but the Lions are actually performing and the Jets just stink week after week. Especially now with Zach Wilson going out injured, I think they're just going to get worse and worse until he's back. The Mac Jones on the other hand had a great game, his first game with over 300 yards, and he got 2 touchdowns as well. And he really is going in the right direction. He's definitely been the best rookie quarterback this year. It was a really embarrassing performance on Sunday for the Carolina Panthers. They only scored 3 points, and Sam Darnold really doesn't actually look like the answer for the Panthers at quarterback. And they even had to bench him in the fourth quarter for their backup PJ Walker. Not because of any injury or anything, just because he just stunk all day. The Panthers just got nothing going on offense. And the Giants weren't that amazing themselves offensively, missing Tony, their first round draft pick, Kenny Galladay, their big free agency signing, and Saquon Barkley, their star running back, who has been really injury prone recently. But, of course, he is still a top running back. But yeah, the Giants did so well defensively that they only conceded 173 yards, total yards that is. And the Panthers, that's their 4th consecutive loss, and it's really not looking good for them. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, recapping all of Sunday games in Week 7. Please also go on wallofnfl.com to check out exclusive articles, breaking news, and live scores as the games happen. And also follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook and Twitter, so check us out there. So thank you again so much for watching, and please remember to comment down below what you thought of all the Week 7 games.